Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for the storm that's been coming through the Macon area. We knew that this one was strong, been keeping an eye on it, and figured eventually they may go with a severe thunderstorm warning on it, and they have. The storm has just kind of pulsed up enough to prompt the National Weather Service to say, all right, let's put a severe thunderstorm warning on there. Let me just get some of the wording as that has come out. The potential for 3/4 inch diameter hail, moving east at 30. 60 mile per hour wind gusts possible with that. That's bib and twigs until 3 o'clock. All right, so let's pause it here. And like I was doing yesterday, we can see all the new lightning strikes that are coming in, all the new flashes there. Been an active storm as it's been coming through the Macon area. Some wild looking shelf clouds that was coming in, some good pictures for those who like taking shelfies, as we call them. And now just the clouds are over downtown with the rain involved. Let's take a look at the big picture here, and what you're going to see is storms all over central Georgia, but the only one that is of any concern, at least immediately, would be this one that is leaving Bibb County heading into Twiggs. So let's take a look at the hail parameter with this. And of course, hail data usually lags a little bit behind where the storm is. So the storm is probably already past the 75-475 split past Hartley Bridge Road. But you can see as we go back in time, there was nothing there. And then just over the past 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we've seen that really pop up. So the diameter of the hail in some of this is looking at anywhere from like 3/4 of an inch to near an inch in diameter. As I take a look at that right here, you can see 3/4, 0.8. on the diameter of the hail. And so we'll see if it stays with that diameter as we go forward. Sometimes these storms, we see them kind of pulse up and then they'll start to kind of come back down. So far, that is not the case with this storm. So let's take a look at some of the wind gusts in there. I was clocking it a minute ago at possibly around 60 miles per hour. As we zoom in, turn the warning layer off here. But notice as we go back just a frame or two, right there is where they decided to issue it. That little bit of blue in there, 60 mile per hour winds plus, that shows 64. So that was when that gust hit, that's when the Weather Service said, okay, let's go ahead and fire up a warning. But if you notice on these new scans, we're not seeing the blue there. So hopefully that was just a pulse for a little bit and this thing will eventually kind of calm down, but we're not seeing that happen just yet. Let's take a look at some of the pixels that are out there now in the green, and we're seeing around 50 miles per hour. So again, at any given moment, you could see 50 to 60 mile per hour winds, and that was in that core of the storm there where the Weather Service popped that warning there for that part. It was seeing over 60 miles per hour. Of course, we're not seeing that now. So here is a look at the radar shot. Let's take away the lightning so you can get an idea of where the heaviest rain and wind would be, and you can see it pretty clearly there, that well-defined edge heading toward the radar in Jeffersonville. So this is going to be our heaviest rain and gustiest winds right along that defined edge there and into this part. The hail signature, we keep looking back and it shows it back here again. Hail data comes in a little bit late, so it's actually probably a little closer to here. Let's see if it's caught up now. It's still showing it back around the split near Hartley Bridge Road, so probably a little bit more this way by this point with the movement of the storm. Again, hail data comes in like every 10 minutes or so, and so you're going to see a lag, and then the next time it comes in, it'll be a jump over here. So that's not a good indicator of where it's actually hailing, but it does give you an idea of the strength of the storm at any given time. Looking back, we do see hail in just small pockets in parts of Taylor County, a little bit in Jasper, and then a little bit more over here in Johnson County. But outside of that, the storm in the Macon area is the one that has the biggest thump to it there. So everything moving east, so a little bit different than some of the storms yesterday where there was not a lot of movement, kind of sitting stationary, some of them just kind of sitting around, not going anywhere. That's not the case today. It's moving east at around 30. So we can track this particular storm out in time going east at 30. And so we'll do that. I'm going to do it as not a squall line necessarily, but just grabbing that whole front edge and then we'll go forward. The polygon goes a little bit more southeast, but we're going to say around, say, east at 30. And some of the places in the path of the storm, if it holds the strength that it has now, Dry Branch, obviously, in the next few minutes. Jeffersonville coming up about 15 minutes or so, and then Irwinton to Nicholsville, places like that as we get on out in the next 45 minutes. Okay, so it doesn't mean it's going to be severe when it gets out there. It could be a storm that is losing some of its punch, or there's a lot of fuel out there ahead of this storm. So plenty of heat and humidity out there for this to keep going, at least as a thunderstorm. We'll just have to see if it stays a severe thunderstorm. This warning goes until 3. And again, as we check the hail core, it is still showing that it is back around the 75-475 split. I do not think that that's where it is happening now, since the storm is past there. So I think that the next hail core signature we see is probably going to be a little bit more over this way. Again, because that's about every 10 minutes we get those to come in. So once the new batch of data comes in, it's going to line it up more with where the actual storm is. Taking a look at velocity again. We do see in the green, that's where some gusty winds are. It does look to be below 60 miles per hour now, so we're looking at probably 50 plus. So it was just for that moment, as far as I can see, right there, and the arrow actually is kind of pointing at it right there. That blue pixel is where we're showing 60 to 65 mile per hour winds in that one area. So that was enough for the Weather Service to say, all right, let's go ahead and fire one off for this one. Now, see what I'm talking about. New hail data just came in and it did jump, and it is smaller. So notice it was back here a minute ago. Now the new data just came in and it shows it more moving into Twiggs County. And you can see as I go back, it was over there and then has jumped here. Smaller size, more like pea-size hail, but still some hail in there. Let's check around the rest of the area. And now that the new hail data has come in, even that was in Johnson County, I don't see it anymore. So it's just that slither of hail right along that leading edge of that storm. And again, if I take away the lightning, you can see that sharp edge, how it's really well defined. That's going to be where your gustiest winds are, right here. So the radar is right here in Jeffersonville. A really clear shot at it, obviously as close as to the radar as it is. So you get a really well defined edge there. Again, this is the only severe thunderstorm warning that we have in our area. So if you're looking around going, well, what about this area? What about this area? We are not seeing any severe weather anywhere else other than the one that is in Bibb and Twiggs. Seeing if there's any new wording coming out from the Weather Service. I don't see anything about it, but good news about the movement of this storm. Flash flooding had sort of been getting to be a problem with some of these storms yesterday because they weren't really moving very much. They were sitting still. Telfair and Wheeler, one of those places yesterday. These at least have some movement. So they'll do the rain thing and then they'll move on out east at around 30. And you can see as I put the lightning back on there, we have storms all over the area, but again, none of those are severe. The only one is the one leaving Bibb into Twiggs. We'll go around the horn with some of the cameras. And the one in Macon, obviously, just seeing clouds and rain. I want to see the one in Warner Robins, see if it looks like the roll cloud, shelf cloud should be nearby. Let's see if we can. It may have already passed over. The Warner Robins camera is about to come up on your screen. Yeah, you can see a little bit of it, and that's going to be the south side of that storm that's been rolling through the Macon area into Twiggs. So that's looking at it from underneath down here in Warner Robins Central Georgia Technical College roof. All right, let's go back to the Macon Skycam. Again, it's a storm that's leaving now. And we'll kind kind of spin around. You can see the back edge of the clouds. If I shuttle over a little bit, looking more toward the south-southeast, you can see kind of the back of the thunderstorm heading toward the left side of your screen there. That's what just came through downtown. We'll spin around a little bit toward the north, first south, west, and you can see the sun trying to come out. Now, if we do get peaks of sun, this is one of those situations where you could get some pretty cool looking rainbow shots once this rain moves through, looking off toward the east. Let's see if they show up if the sun comes out enough. Other cameras that are out there, there's a look at Perry. No, just a little bit of rain nearby, but nothing crazy there. Dublin Skycam is probably going to be a little bit boring as well. Actually, sunshine in some of that area. So again, untouched areas that haven't really seen thunderstorms yet. And if we go back to the radar, there is an outflow boundary moving in the direction of Dublin that could maybe form a shower or two, maybe a thunderstorm as we go in over Dublin, waiting for the radar to load now. And there's that outflow boundary there. So outflow boundary is just colliding this afternoon. So this could be an area, you can see there's an outflow there, one here, there's one here, and kind of in the confluence of all this where everything's going to come together, we may see a new development of a thunderstorm right in this area. Again, this severe thunderstorm warning, you can see it on the tag there, goes until 3. We will stop the motion here and see if we can get a sense for the strength of this. You can see it's going right over the radar now. So purple kind of turning to red. Of course, it's hard to get a good clear shot at it when the thing is right over the radar, so we're not going to get a full picture of it there, but looking for signs of eventually of some weakening. We do see smaller hail in it. Again, the hail core is down a pretty good bit, maybe a quarter to a half inch in diameter, so you're talking like pea-sized hail and only a little bit of it. And again, where that hail core is showing up is probably more in Jeffersonville now, right where the radar is. Any hail that's out there, but it's small. Let's take a look at the hail for all of our area and see if we see any colors showing up. No, we don't. The only thing I see is that little bit that's in twigs. So we would be looking for pockets of, you know, orangish to maybe yellow shaded areas that would show us where a storm is strengthening with a stronger updraft supporting hailstones. But we only see that one little bit in the twigs area. But again, keep an eye out in this spot here to see if we see development because of these outflows. The wind out of these thunderstorms coming together may force some precip up in the vertical there. We may start to see a shower thunderstorm develop in this area. Kind of a continuation of this, but it may be one that just sort of pops out in front of it. We're already starting to see a little bit around the Danville area there. Dublin itself, mainly just the light rain, just kind of around the area. But again, that outflow, and you can see a new lightning strike there. So we'll see what happens when they all come together. Again, the good thing is the movement. They're not sitting still. They're moving toward the east at around 30, so flash flooding is not as much of a problem because of the movement of the storms. Let us go out and take a look and see what this rain has done for the temperatures out there. And you can see it's dropping down a pretty good bit. That's on a loop. So you can see that Macon now is 75, 74 precise. So it's really come in and clean the air out. Now, of course, it's only 240, so there's time for the atmosphere to recover and go back hot and muggy again after this. So we'll see if any storms develop later. Sometimes, as you know, this can kind of clear things out and make it a little less likely to see thunderstorms as we go through the later hours. Let's take a look, though, at the high-res model. It shows that there's 5, 6, 7, it kind of has the idea that most of it does clear out and we don't see much more as we go through tonight. Let's see what the latest graph shows. This is a little bit of an older model here, but 5, 6, yeah, it kind of does the same thing where most of the action looks to be what's going on this afternoon. As far as the Storm Prediction Center, we are in a level 1. We had that again, we had it yesterday in our eastern half and then again today. Tomorrow, so far, nothing there, but they may end up slapping one down for us tomorrow, we'll see. But again, it just means the potential for some hail and some gusty winds, 50 to 60 miles per hour. So again, the core of the storm is right over the radar site. In Jeffersonville, you can see a new scan coming in as we speak. Painting it on there, so yeah, it's right over the radar. You can see the little cone of silence there where it can't see anything because the storm is above it. The beam is being shot out somewhat horizontally, and so it is not looking up. So if that looks weird to you, it's literally because it's over the radar, over its head where it can't look up and see. Still a fair amount of lightning. I'm trying to do like I was doing yesterday and looking for new flashes, little white flashes that'll show up. If you notice how some of the white lightning strikes start to turn gray. As the minutes go by, they start to go to a more, there's a new strike there. They start to go more to a grayish color, indicating older strikes, as opposed to just a ton of white strikes. There's a new one right on the radar site. Please don't hit the radar, we need that. But as we go back, you can see when it was in the Macon area, a lot of white strikes just congregated here together when the hail core was stronger. So still a storm that is worthy of attention, but trying to see if we can get an indication of any weakening going on in there. There's still some wind we can see in the green. Probably close to 50 mile per hour winds there. Look at the hail again, it's lagging behind a little bit. Hail data, once again, if you're just joining us, comes in around every 10 minutes or so. So as the storm progresses toward the east, by the time that new package of data comes in, it'll plop it down more like where the storm is. So it's a little bit of a lag behind, so you just kind of move that over and you say, okay, the storm is here in Jeffersonville. And the new scan may come in and show not much of anything for hail, because it has been weakening down some, but we haven't lost all of it. So waiting for that to come in. Zoom out, again looking for hail in other spots. Don't really see anything, so it's just this one cell. So severe thunderstorm warning until 3. It is moving east for the most part, even though the polygon kind of faces southeast. These are how polygons work. It kind of goes like that, the way it's drawn out, kind of insinuating that would be the direction. But according to the wording, it's actually moving more due east here, and I think that's probably right. Right over Jeffersonville. Now, again, not saying it will, but if you just look at these outflow boundaries, there's one there. Then you got the wind coming out of this storm. A little bit of an outflow there. And so we'll see if this area right here decides to kind of pop up with a new batch of thunderstorms right there. I'm not saying it will, but just following outflow boundaries is usually kind of how it goes. Baldwin County, Wilkinson, Washington County, a thunderstorm going on there, leaving Jones County, nothing severe. Taylor County, with one that has a pretty good bit of lightning. It's already on the east side of Butler, heading more toward Fort Valley, crossing over the river in a little bit. Southern parts of Crawford, northern Macon County. No warning on that. Just looking on the weather service. I don't see a special weather statement for any of these other storms. So the one that is in yellow for mainly Twiggs County now is a severe thunderstorm warning. It was a special weather statement earlier until it got to a point where the Weather Service said, okay, let's issue a warning for that. Let's see, a special weather statement is just now going out for Wilkinson, Lawrence, Twiggs, and Bleckley. So what they're doing is they're getting out ahead of, this storm is about to outrun its polygon here, which goes until 3, but it'll be long gone by the time we get to 3. So it's already putting out a special weather statement for this area, saying it's not severe, but what was kind of a tough customer is moving into your area. So just keeping an eye out there. And yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's kind of like this. We just did a trim to drop Bibb County out of that warning. It's the reason why the yellow polygon is glowing. So it is just for Twiggs. Technically, it's still until 3. I don't know if it's going to go that long because, again, the storm is going to run into this area, which is a special weather statement, not severe thunderstorm warning. So the bing sound that you hear is just the fact that they dropped Bibb County off and have left Twiggs County on. So again, a special weather statement out ahead of that because of the actual storm moving in there, but also too, we'll see if anything blows up here because of these outflow boundaries colliding. May just get that storm itself through here, but we can see this trying to build here from Danville down north of Cochrane and east of Cochrane. Let's go back and do a hail check again. Yeah, and the hail has dropped pretty good bit. It's running down 16 there, you can see around Danville. So actually it's a little displaced south of where the center of the storm was down here, but just very small hail. We're also seeing a little bit up in North Wilkinson County toward Baldwin. Those storms up there putting down maybe a little bit of small hail there. Definitely not a big deal with any of those. Let's take a look at velocity. This will show us where the wind is greatest. And again, it's right over the radar, so not getting a really good look at it. What we would be looking at is right in here. Green is wind going toward the radar, red going away. So we're obviously not looking for a couplet next to each other, you know, like 2 or 3 pixels together like a tornado. That's not what this is. So. All right. Looking in our southeastern counties, pretty quiet for most spots, but Pulaski County seeing some rain and a few rumbles, just garden variety thunderstorms there, so nothing crazy. Wheeler into Trutland, same kind of thing. Let's check in though on the Dublin Skycam because that's where those outflows are coming together. Right now we have some sunshine with clouds. We can see some rain off in the distance. Little shaft of rain out there. As we look way off toward the east-northeast, see some clouds there. So kind of a gathering in of outflow boundaries that, again, as I was mentioning, could pop up a thunderstorm or two, or at least keep that cell going, maybe even pick it up a little bit as it heads toward the east. So hot and muggy out there in Dublin now, but you may have a storm or two heading your way in just a little bit. No warning for anything, just kind of taking a look around at what could be next. Technically, the severe thunderstorm warning goes for 10 more minutes for Twiggs County. Again, it's gone from the Macon area. Southern Wilkinson County, again, northern Bleckley, eastern Twiggs, western Lawrence County. This is the area that's in a special weather statement. Just means not severe, but this area is being watched. And again, just keeping an eye on these outflows to see, and you can see things flaring a little bit in Danville, and that's where we are seeing a little bit of a hail core. So this may not become the storm. It could be this part here where these outflows are kind of stitching together. So I still think in this area we'll at least have storms that will get your attention, but as far as them being severe, too early to tell on that. Let's take a look at the hail, especially around Danville, to see if that's growing any. Right now it's staying small. So 1/4 inch, pea-size hail there. Not a big deal with that. Let's take a look at that Wilkinson County storm up near Baldwin. We do see a little bit of hail there. And a little bit down in Pulaski County, south of Hawkinsville, a little pea-size hail there. And that's fairly new. That just started to show up, so we'll see if that becomes something. So again, all these other storms, if you're hearing rumbles of thunder and the whole thing, none of them are severe. The only one that is, for the time being, is in Twiggs County until 3, but that storm is actually outrunning its cage here. So this polygon is sort of useless now because the storm is leaving it, but technically there are 8 more minutes on the warning. I'm waiting to see if there will be a cancellation of the rest of this since the storm is almost gone from that polygon. Again, this is a part right here that's starting to grow a little bit all through here in southern Wilkinson. So the outflows may come together to kind of lift that up a little bit, give it some oomph, and it does look like it's trying to do that through here. Not severe, but just a special weather statement. So it just means the Weather Service is watching as this, what was a severe storm, is leaving that polygon and is now in southern Wilkinson County. So yes, technically there is a polygon for a severe thunderstorm warning that goes till 3, but that storm has left its enclosure. Let's check in on that Dublin sky cam since things are trying to kind of close in there with those outflows coming together. Dublin's kind of sitting in the middle of rain in different areas. As we look toward the south, southwest, you'll see rain off that way. Making sky cams, just looking around to see if the sun had come back out. We could maybe see some rainbows there. This is not the case right now. Perry, just seeing some dark clouds off in the distance. Warner Robins. Yeah, so nothing really heading into these areas. Go back to Dublin. Severe thunderstorm warning technically out for a little over 5 more minutes. Once again, though, the polygon that is drawn around that storm, the storm has outrun it. So it's actually in Wilkinson County now, so you kind of disregard that yellow polygon. Still no word that they're going to cancel it early. Could make the case that they would, since the storm is no longer in here. It's over here now. Let's check in on the Danville area for hail, seeing if a new scan has come in. And there's no hail there now, so we're hailless in that area. Still a little bit as you go along the river, right on the Wilkinson-Baldwin line. A little small spot of hail there. Outside of that, we're not seeing much with that. Velocity mode for the storm that is in Twiggs, that is weakened down a pretty good bit. The storm is more here. These are the areas, because now this is in red because the wind is going away from the radar. Green going toward the radar, and then once it passes that axis, it's now red in color. So more like 40 to 45 mile per hour winds there now. So that's below severe thunderstorm criteria. So it looks like, I guess they're just going to let this warning go until 3. Once again, the storm is not in that yellow polygon anymore. It is actually in Wilkinson County now. And as I was mentioning, just kind of keep an eye on these outflows in this area. It's rain coming up from this way, the wind coming from the north from these thunderstorms, and we'll see if around Lawrence County, northern Lawrence, Dublin area, if a new storm is born there, or if not, at least these will start to roll on in. But this is kind of one of those areas where you would see somewhat of a blow up with things sort of colliding. So we'll see how it goes. Just other areas that are not severe, Baldwin, Wilkinson, again, that's where I've seen a little bit of small hail right there. I'm sure it's making a racket and get a lot of people's attention there, but not severe. So not focusing too much on the ones that are not severe, which is pretty much all of them except for the one that is severe. Other storms back toward the west. So even though we've had storms in this area, there's still others on the way. But this area in here is really worked over. As I mentioned earlier, the temperatures behind there, as you look, you can see we've dropped down into the low to mid 70s, 73 in Macon, 91 out front in Gordon, so 90 in Eastman, Dublin. You can see where the hot stuff is. So we'll see if these storms run in, they may kind of lose their punch once they get into some of this worked over cooler atmosphere. But again, it's only just coming up on 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a summer day, so there's still time if the sun comes back out to heat things back up, to destabilize the atmosphere, or as we call it, recover. So again, if you're just joining us, that severe thunderstorm warning for Twiggs goes for about 2.5 more minutes, although the storm is not in that yellow polygon anymore. It's way over here in Wilkinson County. So this polygon serves no purpose really, other than to show you where that storm was a little bit ago. And this is a special weather statement out here. It just means keeping an eye on this to see if there's a reason to go severe with any of this. And so far there's not, but as I've been saying, there's the outflow boundary from these storms. So there's wind there, and then that combined with some of the showers that are coming up from the southwest here. We'll see if that starts to create anything in this area. If it doesn't create something new, at least this cluster of showers and storms will ride east through there. And again, a good thing about today as opposed to yesterday when we were starting to kind of get into some flash flooding concerns because some of these storms weren't really moving. These are moving, and they're moving toward the east at around 30. All right, so a special weather statement out for that Wilkinson, Baldwin, Hancock, Washington storm, the one I was telling you that did have some small hail. That'd be this one here. And then a strong thunderstorm, special weather statement for Wilkinson into northwest Lawrence County. So it's still this area here. So if you have thunderstorms in your area, there are none of them that are really being watched except for this and in here. And as you'll see in less than a minute, that yellow polygon over here is going to drop off once that warning is finally expired. As far as hail is concerned, again, we've seen some small hail in a couple of these spots. What you're looking for, though, as you're trending toward anything that would be severe, is brighter colors in there. And we do see a little more color in Baldwin, southern Baldwin here. This is, again, is underneath Milledgeville. So this is south and east of Milledgeville and going away, heading more toward Washington County. So those are the two special weather statements that we have. All right, that warning, there goes that polygon right there. So that just fell off. So technically we don't have any severe weather out there right now. No severe thunderstorm warnings. These are all pretty normal thunderstorms. As we go through the afternoon, if something changes and one of these goes severe, I will pop on and let you know. Otherwise, you'll see at the 5 o'clock show. Of course, again, if we get a severe thunderstorm warning, you will hear from me again. Otherwise, we'll see you later.